everyone take their seat, please? Will you take your seats, please? Ladies and gentlemen, we now turn to a particularly pleasant aspect of this evening, the time when we honor those reporters who excelled in 1996, and to look forward to the future to honor the high school student who we believe has the potential to set new and higher standards into the next century. First, to present the Scholarship Award, named after AP's longtime White House correspondent, Frank Cormier, we turn to Ken Walsh of U.S. News. Will you please give him your attention?
Let me have this a second. Okay. Could I have your attention, please? Thank you. The White House Correspondents Association Scholarship was established in 1991, and it was named in 1994 to honor the memory of Frank Cormier, White House correspondent for the Associated Press for 2 decades. The $2,000 award, derived from contributions to our scholarship fund this year, is designed to recognize the accomplishments and potential of a college-bound high school senior. This year's recipient was honored because of her clear academic achievements, excellent journalistic potential, and solid writing ability. The recipient's goal is to become an electrical engineer and lawyer and an entrepreneur in her own corporation. In her essay for the competition, let me try this one. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. In her essay for the competition, our winner this year warned of the negative side of technology. She pointed out that while new inventions such as the internet and compact discs make life more interesting and convenient, they also have potential problems. She talked about how people need to interact more with each other and not be carried away with technology so they lose the human connection. I'd like to now, at this point, present to you the winner of the White House Correspondents Scholarship in honor of Frank Cormier for 1997, Francesca Mitchell of Ballou High School in Washington.
Thank you, Ken. Now to present this year's winners of our annual Journalism Awards, please welcome Arlene Dillon of CBS. Arlene.
President Mrs. Clinton, Vice President Mrs. Gore, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am honored to present to you tonight the winners of the 3 top awards given to fellow journalists by the White House Correspondents Association and 2 by the Congressional Galleries. Before I begin, I would like to invite the President and the Vice President up here to join me and help me present these awards.
Where do you want us to stand?
Right here is fine. They'll come up and take pictures with you. First, let's take a moment to give a hand to our judges. They worked tirelessly this year. We had a lot of very qualified entries. Their names are in the program. I won't read them all to you, but please take a moment to read them yourselves. Thank you, judges. Our first award is the Merriman Smith Award. This award commemorates the work of the late Merriman Smith, who for many years was the chief White House correspondent for UPI, and is given for exceptional presidential coverage under deadline pressure. In the print category, this year's award is given to Ron Fournier of the Associated Press. Recognized for his coverage of the President's second-term cabinet announcements. He worked well into the early hours of the morning to produce what the judges called a wire service exclusive that was right on target. In the broadcast category, the award goes to Mara Liasson of National Public Radio. Mara's report about a small California town during the 1996 Clinton campaign was called an insightful audio portrait by the judges. Our second award honors Aldo Beckman, the late White House correspondent and Washington bureau chief of the Chicago Tribune. It is given for overall excellence in presidential coverage. This year, the award goes to Todd Purdom of the New York Times. Is unanimously recognized by the judges for his reporting and writing during 1996, providing, and I quote, unique and valuable insight into the personality of our 42nd president. The third award, the Edgar A. Poe Award for excellence in news coverage of national and regional significance, is given in honor of our friend and former Washington correspondent of the New Orleans Times, Picayune. This year it goes to Byron Akahito of the Seattle Times for his investigative series, Safety at Issue, the 737. Mr. Akahito persevered in the face of personal attacks by a corporate giant with vast clout in his own community. The judges called it a story with global implication, a courageous work. Byron also received this year's Pulitzer Prize for beat reporting. Now for the award sponsored by the Congressional Press Galleries. First, the Raymond Clapper Award, named for the Scripps Howard correspondent killed while covering World War II. First prize goes to Elizabeth Marchek of the Cleveland Plain Dealer for her report on the FAA and ValueJet Airlines. Second prize is awarded to Keith Epstein and Bill Sloat, also with the Cleveland Plain Dealer, for excellent reporting on human medical experiments. And finally, the Worth Bingham Memorial Award for investigative reporting of national significance to the public interest. This award is once again given to Byron Akahito of the Seattle Times for Safety at Issue, the 737. This one. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorees, judges, and the board would like to thank you for recognizing our winners tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, come here. Hey, wait a minute. Come here. Mr. President, let's get a quick picture here.
Larry.
Where's Larry? Sharon.
Sharon. Sharon.
Little mother picture.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Arlene, for your personal photo op. President and Mrs. Clinton, Vice President Mrs. Gore, distinguished guests. In 1971, President Nixon attended this dinner. Afterward, he sent a memo to the White House Chief of Staff, H.R. Haldeman. It said the dinner was, I quote, "probably the worst of this type I have attended." He went on to describe the dinner as a disgusting group, drunken, crude, and terribly cruel. He said that under absolutely no circumstances would he ever attend this dinner again. In light of that, President Clinton, thank you for coming. I hope you're having a better time than President Nixon. I know my role here tonight: talk fast and get out of the way. Last year, I know it. Last year, there was only one person here who really wanted to hear my remarks. That was my wife, Jeannie Johnson. Tonight, I've expanded my cheerleaders table with my brothers and sisters, some friends. My daughter Emily is out there with our C-SPAN viewers, and I welcome all of them. And I want to take a moment to thank Lou Bacardi, John Woolman, and Sandy Johnson for their support. Mr. President, we have a very impressive audience here tonight. We have most of the senior White House staff, well, practically the entire White House. We have cabinet members, we've got members of Congress, we've got the Supreme Court, we've got a lot of Hollywood celebrities, and we have a special minority group in this hall of 3,000 people tonight. That's about 30 White House correspondents. Tonight, it's time to report to them on the ambitious three-part program that I presented last year. Point one, I boldly said that we should have safe planes as we fly around the world covering the president. Well, a year later, we're all here and our planes didn't crash, so I say mission accomplished. Point two, I suggested we should have better food on Air Force One back in the press cabin. This was a tough one because some people, the photographers in particular, liked the breakfast burritos, the beans and franks, and the baskets of chips. But I persevered anyway. About a week after I launched my campaign, the president wrote a note about it to his staff. Here's what he said. This is a true story. He said, Terry Hunt's speech Saturday night called for better food for press on Air Force One. I thought they got what we did. No offense, Mr. President, but we do get the same food you do. I think that was the problem. The White House came up with a novel way to solve this problem. Now, the White House menus carry a message that says, meals prepared aboard Air Force One use low-fat or no-fat ingredients, regardless of what they serve. So now we can eat breakfast burritos without any guilt. The president sent me back a note one flight when the menu listed pizza and garden salad. Right after the no-fat disclaimer, he scribbled, I have some land out west I'd like to show you. Point three. This was a complaint about presidential motorcades. I said the press vans had fallen so far back in the motorcade that we weren't in the same zip code as the president's limousine. On this one, the news isn't so good. Forget the same zip code hopes. We're so far back now that our letters come back stamped, return to sender, address unknown. So there you have it, success and failure. And I raised the price of this dinner to boot. For that, Sarah McClendon chewed me out as only Sarah can. She did. So I knew it was time to step down, but I have a worthy successor, Larry McQuillan, who has promised to remedy all of my shortcomings. It's with a great deal of pleasure that I turn over the microphone to my colleague from Reuters, Larry McQuillan.
Thank you, Tara. I've got to tell you that the reception I was just given now is a lot nicer than the one I got the last time I spoke to a big crowd. I wound up getting a call one afternoon from a friend, and he begged me to come talk to his organization that night. It was really, they wanted to hear what I had to say. And I somehow went along with it. And as I was walking across the stage, being introduced, the words to inspire the crowd were, "Unfortunately, Helen Thomas couldn't be with us tonight." Actually, I just really have a simple message. I just want to thank you for participating in this dinner. It began more than 80 years ago with a pretty simple idea that all of us, both journalists and the people we cover, should remember that while we have differences, we share some ideas in common too. It's always hard to talk for a group as diverse as a bunch of journalists. But I think it's safe to say that virtually all of us got into the business because we'd like to make the world just a little better place. And the point of this dinner is to remind us that we all share that kind of mission and goal, even if we've got some different ideas on how to get there. It's a strange process to become president of this association. You have to do weird things. You have to be a politician. We have a campaign season that's, believe me, entirely too long. We have to go out and shake hands with people, listen to them, feel their pain. And then we go through the torture of waiting for the election results. I mean, Mr. President, I guess what I'm saying is that if you think you've got it rough when you face tough questions at a news conference, well, those people are my constituents. It's not easy. Actually, it just occurred to me, Mrs. Clinton writes a weekly newspaper column. And she does spend a lot of time at the White House. You may want to look at one of our membership applications. And Mrs. Gore, you should know that we represent photographers too. And actually, Mr. Vice President, we have an associate membership that a lot of ex-journalists find quite popular. And now, if I could just say one thing that's a little bit serious and actually to my constituents. I do have a goal for the coming year, and I'm not promising it can be done, but I'd like to try. It's improving the conditions in the White House briefing room. A colleague of mine recently likened it to a rundown waiting room at a Greyhound station. Seriously, it's really being unfair because Greyhound doesn't deserve that kind of rap. And I must admit, another friend worries every time that James Lee Witt comes in for fear he may declare it a disaster area. But, you know, we don't want to move out of the press area, and there isn't a need to. The proximity it offers is essential for us to do our jobs. But hopefully we can cooperate among ourselves and with the White House to make it function better for all of us. And finally, this dinner gives us a chance to say thanks to the White House staff, and in particular, we all really appreciate the effort and courtesy that we're treated with every day by Mike McCurry and Marcia Berry and Lorraine Voles, and we do appreciate that. And you know, by the way, just one more quick thing. While Terry really does love the food on Air Force One, I know he'd be the first one to agree that we all appreciate just how hard the crew on Air Force One and the crew that supports the Vice President and the First Lady, how hard they work, and we do appreciate that. Anyway, Terry, come here. This is the point Terry really looks forward to. This is a sign of our appreciation for all the hard work that I know you've done, and you really have. And I can't tell you how much I admire it and how much I'm worried about doing it myself. But at any rate, it's not a gold watch, but really you don't have enough plaques and gavels around the house anyway.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Larry. The thing I like about this means that I'm in the last moments of my presidency, and it's going to him now. It's now my pleasure to turn to the man this dinner is designed to honor. In its 83 years, the White House Correspondents Association has had but one toast. Please join me in that toast now. To the President of the United States. Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Hunt, thank you so much for reading the notes that I wrote you. Just like every other journalist, make all my memos public. Larry McQuillan, Arlene Dillon, John Stewart, who will make us glad we came in a few moments. To all the distinguished head table guests, and ladies and gentlemen, I tried to fulfill Terry Hunt's agenda as president. Those are real notes I wrote him. And I will try to fulfill Larry's agenda. I think it's terrible, the conditions in which the White House press corps labored. It really is. It reminds me of Nurse Cratchit's office in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it's really a tribute to the futility of a politician pandering to the press, because, you know, that used to be an indoor swimming pool that brought great joy to FDR and JFK and presidents in between. Richard Nixon gave it to you. And he got such good press in return. Maybe this is his final revenge, the miserable conditions of it. We could uncover it, but let you keep it. I could build a cabana. Well, you think about it. Before I get into my jokes, I have some important serious news. Senator Lott and I have broken the gridlock over the budget. A deal now appears imminent. Miraculously, the $56 billion, thank you, the $56 billion gap that has separated Democrats and Republicans has been bridged. And ladies and gentlemen, we owe Senator Dole a huge debt of gratitude. The best part is we don't have to start paying it back till 2005. And that's outside the budget window. Bigger tax cuts, more money for the Justice Department, whatever. Just sign up, you can have it. You know, if I'd known Bob Dole was that generous, I'd invited him over for coffee. I want to congratulate awardees tonight. Byron Acohito, who's come from so far away and did such good work. And then there are the local winners, Ron Fournier, Marl Eisen, Todd Purdom. Of course, I'm not familiar with any of your work, but I'm sure it's very good. But this Purdom guy's name sounds familiar. Purdom, I think I read it in the engagement announcements recently. Hillary and I congratulate Todd and Dee Dee on their marriage next month. You know, Dee Dee and I started out together on a little plane in New Hampshire, and we made it all the way to the White House. Then she sort of strayed over to your side for a while, and I was kind of disappointed. Now she's getting on a 747 and going to Beverly Hills. They grow up so fast, don't they? Oh, I got another serious thing I want to talk about. Something that I know really you all are on me about all the time. Many of you are distressed that you're not notified in a timely fashion about breaking news, like my knee breaking. And that's valid, and I've been doing some work to make sure it never happens again. In fact, in the spirit of reinventing government that the Vice President has so indoctrinated me with, starting tonight, we have decided to give you advance notice of upcoming mishaps. Mike McCurry has asked me to inform you of the following. While engaging in some volunteer work tomorrow in Philadelphia, I will be on the receiving end of a painful encounter with a ball-peen hammer. And I will do my best to do it before your filing deadline at 5. On May 22nd, I will be visiting the home of Tiger Woods to celebrate his recent victory in the Masters. Please be advised there's a loose brick on the patio. On July 8th, during the 5th inning of the All-Star Game in Cleveland, I will attempt to catch a foul ball from Rafael Palmeiro. Stay tuned. Look, Mark Knoller's running out to call his editor now. Well, I know we're here to honor you tonight because of the work you do, but this dinner is a pittance compared to the testament to your profession last week, which opened its doors, called the Newseum. The Newseum. The Newseum. What really surprised me, for any event in Washington, this opening actually got a lot of favorable press coverage. Evidently, you journalists have a lot of friends in the media. But there are a bunch of exhibits I'm dying to see. I want to see the portrait gallery of unnamed sources. The Gergen and Shields retrospective. The museum's crown jewel, the Hall of Pundits. Modeled after the Hall of Presidents at Disneyland. It features mechanized mannequins mouthing contentious blather. No, wait, that's the McLaughlin Group. There's also an absolutely amazing collection of historical artifacts, C-SPAN's gavel-to-gavel etchings of the Constitutional Convention, CNN's very first crossfire. From the left, Alexander Hamilton. From the right, Aaron Burr. Topic, gun control. There's an actual press corps travel manifest from Stagecoach 1. Guess what? The film they showed was Fargo. The 30 people in the White House press corps are laughing at that. There are artifacts of contemporary Washington journalism as well. There's the stack of Bibles upon which Joe Klein swore. There's Johnny Apple's expense reports, a transcript of Ann Rice's interview with Bob Novak, the contract where Bob Woodward insists on Robert Redford being cast as him. There's a haunting photograph from the 1961 White House Correspondents' dinner of a young Brian Williams shaking hands adoringly with Chet Huntley. And then there's a whole wing dedicated to historic scoops. For example, did you know that Helen Thomas broke the story about the Lincoln bedroom while Lincoln was still sleeping in it? However, the most important part of the museum is an exhibit which poses an utterly fascinating question, both contemporary and historical. How would current White House correspondents and columnists have covered past presidential administrations? Have you seen this? I mean, this is an incredible thing. In the exhibit, everyone in the current press corps is making fun of Millard Fillmore's name. And that's everyone except Wolf Blitzer. David Letterman keeps calling William Howard Taft Tubby, and Teddy Roosevelt Old Four Hours. Maureen Dowd writes a column dismissing the first presidential election as politics as usual. Sam Donaldson makes fun of George Washington's wooden teeth, but completely ignores the obvious fact that he's wearing a wig. The New York Times calls for a special counsel to look into George Washington's winning campaign in the Revolutionary War because Lafayette was French. And Barbara Walters asks the father of our country, if you could chop down a tree, any tree at all, what kind of tree would it be? All right, now we're going to tell some stuff on us. You know, I know you give me grief from time to time, but really, we work around the clock trying to help you do your job. I mean, really, what other administration would make thousands and thousands of internal memos and official documents available for your daily enjoyment? But you did miss a couple of good stories. Roll it in, boys. Come here. Where are they? Where are my documents? Oh, here. Come here. I hope no one's in contempt for ignoring these. This is just a representative sample. You'll have them all tomorrow. Here's a memo from Harold Ickes to Leon Panetta. Leon, FYI, Maxwell House coffee is on sale this week for $3.49 a pound. Here's a copy of a check we mistakenly thought was a small campaign contribution from AT&T. Turns out that by cashing it, we authorized a switch in our long-distance service. Here's a memo outlining the DNC's high donor program. It's pretty embarrassing. Business class upgrades for Air Force One. Mr. Speaker, it could have been you. Let's see, here's one. For $10,000, you can have a private meeting with Vice President Gore to discuss reinventing government. And for $20,000, you don't have to go. And this is the most embarrassing one of all from the White House visitor log last year. I can't believe any of you missed this. It seems that during the period of time when the First Lady was recording her Grammy Award-winning album, Milli Vanilli came to the White House 32 times. Now, I don't know how this got in here. This is a letter of acceptance to Chelsea saying that she will, from Chelsea, saying that she will attend. No, that's privileged. But look, the bad news is our only child is going off to college. The good news is, opens up another bedroom. But now look, you all know I want to build a bridge to the future, not the past. I'm interested in the future, so I want you to just forget about the documents. Now, we know how important technology is to our future, and the White House has always been the center of new technological developments ever since John Adams occupied it. There was the electric lights, the telephone, the telegraph, the tape recorder, and the clapper. And most recently, the computer. Now, just last week, the Vice President and I used a computer in the Oval Office. I felt like a kid who first got to drive. He actually let me do some things on it. And it's clear that we are once again at the threshold of a new era that will forever change the way presidents conduct matters at home and abroad. As of this week, I have been working around the clock trying to balance the budget with Quicken. And I want you to consider this. In the post-Cold War era, the introduction of the computer has raised a profound question. Whose finger do you want on the Control-Alt-Delete button? You know what my favorite button is? F2. Search and replace. I have enjoyed the daily press clips so much more since I discovered F2. I read them online now, and then I search and replace. Thanks for showing me that, Al. I mean, after all, look, your news reports are just a first rough draft of history anyway, and I'm just doing the F2 thing to do a little editing. Let's take some of the news stories you've written just in the last month. F2. Search for budget standstill. Replace with prosperity at home and peace abroad. It's better, isn't it? I mean, it is. Search for beleaguered. Replace with Lincoln-esque. Search for independent counsel. Replace with the ice cream man. I'll never forget how I found out about this incredible device, search and replace. I walked into the Vice President's office not very long ago, and he was there working on his computer, F2, search for Bill Clinton. That's it. I got there just in time. James Thurber said that humor is one of our greatest and earliest national resources that has to be preserved at all costs. Well, I hope we've saved a little up tonight and enriched it. I thank you and come here to honor your indispensable part in our lively 225-year-old experiment in democracy. May we work together so that it continues to light and lead the world. Tomorrow I'm going to Philadelphia, where this great experiment began, to open the President's Summit for America's Future. We'll gather there to renew the spirit of service that built this country. Each of us must serve, you in your way, me in mine. You can start right now by bussing your own tables and helping with the dishes. Now, when John finishes, I'm going home. Thanks and good night.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Vice President wants you to explain that reinventing government joke. He wasn't quite sure what that was all about. Now we turn to a veteran of the stand-up comedy circuit and television. Jon Stewart is considered one of America's top young comedians. He has hosted his own nighttime talk show for MTV, aptly titled The Jon Stewart Show. His recent television credits include a live one-hour HBO comedy special, Jon Stewart Unleavened. This fall, he appears opposite Drew Barrymore and Jennifer Beals in the feature film Wishful Thinking. There's a lot more about Jon Stewart that I could tell you, but one of the nicest things is simply this: he showed up when someone else didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Stewart.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mrs. Clinton, Vice President Mrs. Gore, White House correspondents, distinguished guests. Before I begin, I know there's a lot of important people here, but I've been sitting up here for about 3 hours. So if you just excuse me, I have to check on just one quick thing. Mom, good table? How was the fish? Dry? Good portion? Thank you for being here. She was very excited to be here. I was a little nervous about taking this gig for what reason I do not know, but she put it all in perspective by saying, when in your lifetime do you think you'll ever get the opportunity to meet or even really eat in the same room as the Carl Lubsdorff? So, they told me that name would work. I really don't know who he is. Which I imagine is about, Carl, hey you. Carl, I know you're thinking the same thing about me too, so. I'm not very familiar about how things operate in Washington. I don't know the protocol of these dinners. I got some advice from Washington insiders to sort of help me along with how my speech was supposed to go. Senator Moynihan said, make the speech bipartisan. Don't offend. Senator Lott said, be concise. And Senator Byrd said, no dogs. Apparently that guy just really hates dogs. Rosie O'Donnell was the president's first choice to be here this evening, and she withdrew, citing a nasty and brutal confirmation process. I wasn't even the second choice. Dennis Miller was the second choice, but he got hung out by an illegal nanny technicality. But isn't that what the confirmation process is all about here in Washington? weeding out the truly qualified to get to the truly available. One more like that and I might get to go to the Vanity Fair party. Are you guys going to that? That's a tough ticket, boy. Good luck. I was confirmed. I don't know if you read about it last week, but I went before the Joint Select Committee on mandatory dinners at the Hilton, and I have the transcripts, oddly enough. The transcripts from my confirmation hearing. I really don't do any impressions, but I'll do my best to dramatize the spirit of what went on in my hearing. Senator Helms. Mr. Stewart, are you now or have you ever been a card-carrying member of the Don Imus fan club? Mr. Stewart, not card-carrying, no, thank you. Senator Byrd. Mr. Stewart, were you aware that during the Peloponnesian War, dogs were utilized mainly as weapons? No, I didn't know that. Are you sure you don't have a dog? Yes. Have you ever caught a Frisbee in your mouth? No, I have not. I don't know why he sounds like Charlton Heston, but that's as good as I go. Senator Kennedy. Mr. Stewart, can you tell this committee the difference between a Rob Roy and a Manhattan? Sugar and crushed fruit in the glass? I vote to confirm. I know that's an obligatory joke. To be honest with you, I love Senator Kennedy. I think that guy's the coolest. Although, I do think he has kind of an enormous head. Honestly, it doesn't even look like a head. It looks more like a container for a head. It's just an observation. Congressman Patrick Kennedy. Well, they're giving him a shot on the Joint Select Committee. Congressman Patrick Kennedy. Mr. Stewart, do you like video games? Not really. Senator Thurman. Mr. Stewart, do you like cheese? I do. And finally, Congressman DeLay. Does the distinguished comedian from New York want a piece of me? Huh? Punk? But I am very happy to be here, and let me just say this is the nicest Seder I've ever been to. Today is, for my people, the Jewish people, the 6th night of the holiday Passover, or as Pat Buchanan refers to it, Saturday. I believe that's true. Oh my God, that actually reminds me, I apologize, I have an announcement to make. Due to a scheduling conflict with a local convention, the Albright Bas Mitzvah will now be held in the Coolidge Room. Congratulations, Miss Albright. She's Jewish now. Just trying to welcome her to the team. I think it's great. Miss Albright can find out about her Jewish heritage, and it doesn't really drastically change her life. She can go on with her work and doing the things she did. Whereas when Ralph Reed found out he was Jewish, he had to quit his job. So that was really tough. Apparently that didn't fly where he works. I don't... Mr. Reed did quit the Christian Coalition, but Pat Robertson says the split is amicable, and in fact wishes Ralph, quote, mazel tov. Although Pat's a little annoyed, he has to change the name of his show to the 699 Club. Sorry. Isn't that McCurry's job? I have an announcement right here. Thank you very much, Terry. Oh, wow. Pierre Salinger has just announced he has definitive proof that tonight's coffee has been replaced by Folgers Crystals. Apparently he has videotape and chat room transcripts. He says it's all going to be in his new book, If You Knew What I Knew, It Would Curl Your Eyebrows. What happened to Washington books, by the way? What is the whole thing now on the new tell-all insider books? Whatever happened to the old-style Washington books of substance? Profiles and Courage, What I Think. Now we've got, help me, I'm locked in the cabinet, behind the Oval Office. Although Behind the Oval Office is a better title than the first title he was going to use. My name is Dick M, and I'm a sexaholic. So, guess I'm not going to that party after all. Speaking of Mazel Tov here, there are congratulations in order apparently in marriage. Mr. Greenspan and Andrea Mitchell were married. That's excellent news. Miss Mitchell, you must be thrilled. I mean, in the drab workaday world of journalism, how can you not be swept off your feet by the electrifying charisma of a veteran economist? Probably had you from those 3 romantic words, I fight inflation. I kid Mr. Greenspan, of course, because I have no investments. Honestly, I am at your mercy. Please don't raise interest rates. I'm not kidding. I'm trying to buy an apartment in New York, and I'm at your mercy until Mr. Dole approves my loan. Speaker Gingrich did get a loan from Mr. Dole, $300,000. They say he got a sweetheart deal, but I think he ought to make prompt payments on that. Mr. Dole seems like a pretty tough customer, and I think one guy here on crutches is enough. Capiche? Mr. Dole is trying to actually change his image from the very gruff one to a more grandfatherly one. Apparently the $300,000 he lent Mr. Gingrich came enclosed in a birthday card, which I thought was really sweet. Can you have that replace and delete thing? Can I F2 that joke? Is Speaker Gingrich is not even here, is he? Is it? I think this might be his weekend to House sit leader. He's back. There are a lot of celebrities here this evening. It's a tradition of the association dinners that actually began, I did some research, began at the first dinner in 1921 when Mary Pickford came as a guest of John McLaughlin, which I thought was really interesting. Ellen DeGeneres is here, a very big celebrity. I commend her courage, actually, in coming out with her sexuality, at much personal risk, I might add. Although I still believe it's an elaborate ruse to keep Larry King from hitting on her. But, sir? Apparently he's a flirt. I watch ESPN. I have no idea. I did see Ellen's interview with Diane Sawyer, and it was last night, and I thought it was really moving. And I thought this was really interesting. She said that her first experience in that realm, in that thing, was at age 18 with her best girlfriend. And immediately following the interview, Dick Armey introduced legislation banning same-sex friendships. I blew that one. That was a good one, too. Yeah. But all these celebrities are surely a boon for C-SPAN. I would bet tonight that they are almost sure to double their viewer. even though we are preempting the regularly scheduled program, Blue Goose, The Making of a Podium. You know, we actually had something like C-SPAN where I used to work, only we called it a security camera. There we go. I like C-SPAN. It's mesmerizing, kind of like the Yule log. It's, I'll tell you what, it isn't very exciting, but wait until high-definition TV hits. I have heard that if you watch C-SPAN on high-definition TV, it gives the illusion that Vice President Gore is three-dimensional. I cleared that. There are a lot of big issues here on the table here in Washington. Right now there's some debate in Congress about the FDR Memorial. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's some interest groups that are concerned with historical accuracy, and they're lobbying Congress. Some say FDR should not be in his wheelchair for the memorial. Some say he should be standing. Some say he should be having his cigarette. Some say not. Some say Eleanor's statue should not have fur on it. So they actually did a poll in USA Today on Friday, I guess to give Congress sort of a feel for how regular Americans feel about that issue, and the results are really interesting. 8% felt he should be in the wheelchair, 12% said he should be standing, and 80% said pass a budget. So I thought that was interesting. You got to nip these people in the bud with the statues and the interest and the whole thing. I've heard it's already spread now to the Lincoln Memorial. Apparently, a group of historical purists are arguing about the historical accuracy of the Lincoln Memorial, complaining that Lincoln himself was neither 50 feet tall nor made of bronze. But Washington has always been a hotbed of social protests. I guess the biggest recent one was the Million Man March, or as many of you probably remember it, that day we called in sick. Anyway, Mr. President, I'm sure this has been a very gratifying yet difficult year for you. It's an honor for me to be here. I know Kenneth Starr is not here tonight. I think that guy's getting a little desperate. Yesterday, he subpoenaed NASA to investigate why so much money is being spent on the Hubble telescope. Nope, 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 nope. I was told if I go over my allotted time, the Peruvian hostage release team was going to come in here and take all you people out. Hey, you know what would be a good thing to get to? The end. As we approach the millennium, I guess the real job of government is to watch out for all the lunacy that's been going on. The closer we get to the year 2000, the more lunatics seem to come out of the woodwork. And I'll tell you, it's already happening. You know who really scared me? Was that crazy cult leader from California, Bob Dornan. So thank you all very much for your time. This has been a great honor for me. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Before we adjourn to the many after-dinner receptions being sponsored by various news organizations, I want to thank some people who have worked very hard to make this dinner a success. In particular, I want to thank Mike McCurry and Lori McHugh of the White House. The chief architect of this dinner, the person who worked the hardest, was Julie Whiston, one of the sunniest, most efficient people I've ever met. She was terrific. And let me thank Sharon Quarles, Rebecca Krantz, and George Pullis. This was a huge undertaking. Now I ask all of you to remain seated while Larry McQuillan, our new president, and Stewart Powell, our new vice president, escort President and Mrs. Clinton and Vice President and Mrs. Gore out of the ballroom. We thank them for attending. We thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all again next year. Thank you.